Good morning, dear Dharma friends. Sound okay? Thank you. Well, I'm taking some delight in seeing you here, scrolling through the first couple of pages of our gathering. It's really superb that we can gather together in this way. It's very smoky here. The particulate index, or whatever that's called, is over 300, which means it's extreme, harmful, dangerous. I have a HEPA filter here in my little cabin, and we have because I have allergies and asthma, I installed about 5-10 years ago a particulate electrostatic filter in the furnace, so our interior in the home is pretty good too. What a hard time. What a hard time. I intend today to speak about impermanence and the hard time and the incredible wealth that we have in the Dharma to make use of such times. And so I want to begin with a reading from the Buddha. That a time like this, while surprising, and in terms of the usual crises of our lives, pretty extreme. It's not an unusual event on the planet. And it's not unusual that the rug should be pulled out so profoundly as is happening now. From the Buddha, thus should you look upon this changing world. All component things are impermanent. All component things are subject to dissolution. See all of this world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. Thus should you look upon this changing world. All component things are impermanent. All component things are subject to dissolution. See all of this world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom, and a dream. And in a modern vocabulary, this is by...
You're not recording.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Thanks, Jim. September 13th, Portland, Oregon. This is from Marilyn Robinson. If one should be shown odd fragments arranged on a silver tray and be told, this is a splinter from the true cross, and that is a nail paring dropped by Barabbas, and that is a bit of lint from under the bed where Pilate's wife dreamed her dreams, the very ordinariness of the things would recommend them. Every spirit passing through the world fingers the tangible and mars the mutable, and finally has come to look, but not to buy. So shoes are worn, and hassocks are sat upon, and finally everything is left where it was, and the spirit passes on. Just as the wind in the orchard picks up the leaves from the ground, as if there were no other pleasure in the world but brown leaves. As if it would deck, clothe, flesh itself in flourishes of dusty brown apple leaves, and then drops them all in a heap at the side of the house, and goes on. Impermanence. I was writing a note to my friend Peter Moore, who's the CEO of Breitenbush, this morning. Breitenbush has survived. The guest cabins are all gone. The sanctuary is gone. Oh, so sad. The kitchen is okay. The main hall is okay. The lodge and the office, they lost one well. The heavy equipment was taken down to the floodplain, and it was all fine. The yurt, where I've taught many times, is okay. And the staff cabins are okay. That's on the other side of the river, and part of the bridge burned. So heroic activity on the part of the fire team at Breitenbush. They really risked their lives to do that. So anyway, I was writing Peter just to connect, and I said that I've been talking about anicca for almost 50 years. I've been teaching about impermanence, and still, it's shocking. It's shocking that things can change so much. I did a little calculation this morning, converting from acres. 150 square miles have burned. Imagine that, 150 square miles. No wonder it's smoky. Please mute yourselves, okay? There's a Susan. I'm going to mute you. So we're here to practice. We're here to do the one thing that can actually lead us to being less susceptible to being shocked and blown out of the water when things change, which is to really wake up, to develop a mind which is stable, to develop a mind which can focus on suffering, on dukkha, on pain, and not flinch, and also therefore be able to experience pleasure and happiness more fully. So each morning I lead us in this simple little song on the refuges. Let's really reflect on it this morning. What does it mean? Can we take refuge in old-growth forests? Can we take refuge in stability in government? Can we take refuge in relationships, in children? Can we take refuge in the stock market, in wealth, in youth, in health? It's all utterly unstable. Spent some time on the phone yesterday with Paige Freeborn and Adrian. Paige's father died maybe 36 hours ago now. It's a big moment when the parents die. a big moment when anybody dies that we know, isn't it? So where can we take refuge? In that which is awake, in that which is alive, conscious. That which is the Buddha, which is Kuan Yin, the Christ. All of those are symbols for something mysterious and present. I take refuge in the Dharma and the way things actually are, and in the practices that lead me to waking up. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of practice, and those who have gone before us and tasted awakening. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Sanghaya. Our usual practice in life, amongst our strategies of being happy and content, our usual strategy has to do with the sense doors. Pretty sights, pretty sounds, nice smells, nice tastes, nice touches, interesting mental stimulation of the pleasant variety. Then we have our various intoxicants and trance states we love to go into because they're pleasant. Let's do something different. Let's be here in the unvarnished, unstimulated, this moment. Letting the eyes be open or closed. If they're open, be aware of seeing. Maybe look around a little bit. See the privilege of walls and windows and protection from the smoke if you're around here. I was thinking this morning of the increasingly numerous homeless people, unhoused, unhomed people who are on the streets of Portland. According to the UNHCR, there's more refugees on the planet right now than there were after World War II. But here we are, safe, watching a television, watching a computer hooked up to the internet. So we can start with gratitude. Look how good I have it. I actually have a little electric heater here beside me that's raised the room temperature to 70 something. It's beautiful. So here we are in this moment. Let us abandon trying to get happy through consumption. And let us land right here, in the body. Notice how wonderfully alive your body is. Notice that it touches the chair in a few places, or the cushion. And notice that it's alive everywhere you pay attention. You could bring attention into the hands. They're alive. Into the back. Alive. Bring attention to the sternum and notice how it moves, it expands and contracts. It moves away from the spine and then back. Notice the life in what you would call the face. It's alive. And notice also that there is the very awareness of this. There's something mysterious happening in that there is knowing what's happening. And so let us take up the foundational profound practice of mindfulness, of in-breathing and out-breathing. There's nothing fancy about this practice. In fact, it's the opposite of fancy. It's just attending to the miracle. This body breathes in and breathes out. Each breath has a beginning. It then has a rising to fullness, and then a moment of pause, and then a change of direction. And then a declining, and then it disappears. One form of happiness which is available to us is that of concentration. A mind which ceases to wander, which rests in the present moment, is a mind of great pleasure, great ease. And such a mind, however, doesn't arise through violence or through intense struggle. It arises through lovingly being in the present moment and coming back 10,000 times, 20,000 times. Come back to the actual sensations of breathing in and breathing out. And of course, the mind may well wander. It wanders into desire and wanting. I want my usual pleasantries. Or it pushes back, it resists, it fights against what's happening, which is aversion or disliking. The present moment is not acceptable to me. Present experience is not acceptable. Or it may go to restlessness and agitation and worry. Or sloth and torpor, dullness, falling asleep. Or to doubt, why am I doing this? Does it work? Can I do it? See these for what they are, mental phenomena. Set yourself free, come home to breathing, one breath at a time. And we practice with an attitude of loving kindness or loving friendliness. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. What a relief to not have to improve oneself. To not have to improve on reality. It's like this. And as we stop moving around and distracting, consuming, the fact that we're hurting, maybe anxious, maybe frightened, maybe physically hurting, maybe worrying, maybe despairing. That may well come front and center in our experience. So when I'm hurting, when there's suffering, no matter what its flavor or origin, I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. And again, that's not something fancy. When a child falls and hurts themselves, the adult comes and holds them. Checks out to see if there's damage and then provides stability and warmth and caring. There, I know it really hurts and you're going to be okay. So sitting and breathing and loving and being compassionate with yourself. It helps to remember that we are engaged in a training process, in an exercise program of a sort. We are exercising the enlightenment factors, mindfulness and curiosity, and persistence, and tranquility and equanimity and concentration and joy. We are actually cultivating a garden of these. These are the crops. And there's a secondary crop, which is awakening. So please don't lose heart if this is challenging, if you don't easily discover that the mind is wandering. It's a miracle when we do. And then we return again and again to breathing. something very mysterious happens. The mind wanders off, and it may be thinking, planning, emoting. It may be deeply engaged in rehashing an old conversation, or maybe reliving some old trauma. Maybe fearfully trying to figure out how to cope with this emergent circumstance we're in. And then awareness blossoms. It's like the crocus in the springtime, or those little flowers that come while the snow melts around them in the mountains. Spontaneously arising awareness. This is the Buddha awakening. This is freedom. We create the conditions and awakening occurs. And if this happens 3 times an hour, it's still worth sitting. Because those are 3 moments of freedom. And sometimes those moments link together and there's just a sense of presence. And in that presence, the fact of impermanence becomes more and more obvious. The reality that the self is a process rather than a noun becomes more obvious. Peacefulness breaks out. We embrace the present moment. It's real. It's changing. And please now allow awareness to fill your body from toes to the crown of the head. It's like opening the focus a bit from the breath to the body. The breathing still exists, of course. And make room for the thinking mind, for the wandering mind that serves you so well. It becomes such a useful tool the more mindful we become. loving this mind, this capacity of thought. Opening in the realm of the body, of the emotions. The emotions which range from ecstatic joy to love and compassion and sympathetic joy and equanimity to heartbroken grief and despair. Bring love and awareness to the emotional body, to the emotional self. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in each moment. And please now bring awareness, awaken awareness in the life of the face and the eyes. And then notice what it takes, and intention for the eyes to open. And then doing the work of opening the eyes. And they open in gallery view upon the faces of our meditating pals, our compatriots. And why not include the faces you meet in this field of love, this intention of loving? Another kind of happiness. Dare I be loving and open? Why not? Someone might think, oh, I might do it wrong, or I don't know how to do that. Of course you know how to do that. It's just this. I have a couple of announcements I'd like to make before Jim takes the helm and does some mindful movement. The first is an invitation to do my class with me that starts on Wednesday night. It's a class on the Eightfold Path. I suppose every time is the perfect time to set out on the Eightfold Path or to clarify one's understanding of it and practice of it. It seems like this is a particularly good time with all the instability that there is. We'll be reading two books. One is that, where'd it go? That fantastic new book by Robert Beatty, Mindfulness for a Happy Life. It actually is pretty good. And also the eight Mindful Steps to Happiness by Henapola Gunaratana, the same fellow who wrote Mindfulness in Plain English. And it will be a very methodical journey through the Eightfold Path, using the diagrams that I've created over the last 15 years, and meditation, and some homework. And that starts Wednesday night. And then the other thing I want to announce is this. I'll share my screen. Can I get it? Yes. Here we go. No, before I do that, I want to do this. one of the paths to happiness is renunciation. It's not a topic much talked about in the West, because we have an implicit belief, or explicit too, that the more stuff we can get, the more pleasant experiences we can get, the more happy we'll be. And it isn't true. It's a lie. Of course, being in abject poverty, or being a refugee, not having enough food, not having medical care when we need it, these are all terrible things, and we can achieve a modicum of happiness by having shelter and so on. But the notion that we're going to be happy through more consumption falls apart, and remarkably, we don't really get that. So another vehicle for happiness is that of renunciation, of realizing, do I need this? I don't need this. I will let go of this and just be present. And one of the forms of renunciation is generosity. And cultivating generosity is really such an incredible heart-opening and life-giving experience. Jennifer's been very involved in I think it's a Facebook, partially Facebook thing, on buy nothing, giving stuff away, and it's amazing how people come and get things. And also, my daughter Tara's been doing a similar thing, and it's so fun to see people go. A woman came, I can't remember if I talked about this. We offered, what was it Jen offered? She needed something. Anyway, she was looking for something to take with her going camping, and she came with her daughter who was moving away, her 8-year-old daughter. And so in the end, I wound up sending her with 10 pounds of tomatoes and a bunch of other stuff. It was such a lovely, heart-filled experience of, here we have so much. And in that regard, I want to invite you to support PIMC, to make a monthly contribution. We're having a push now, a fund drive over a couple of months, to see if we can see how much we can increase our stable contribution base with monthly givers. So the amount is not the point. The fact is that having a monthly contribution coming directly out of your checking account, or however that happens, I bet you'll feel good about it. I've been contributing to NPR for years, of course, and I always, it's like when it comes on, it's like, yes, I support this. This is mine. So I don't think I'll even share the screen. It's just, you can go to the website and find a way to do that, and you will, what's the best way? I just got what was that chat thing? What's the best way to buy your book? Oh, you can buy it from Powell's Bookstore. You can buy it from Annie Bloom's books here near my home, and you can also get it from The Beast on Amazon. You can get it also, it's cheaper as well, from WIPF and Stock. In fact, here's how to do it. Go to my website, robertbeatty.com, and there's a link there that will show you how to buy it. It's $5 cheaper from the publisher. There. Okay. I think that's plenty on that topic. So Jim, would you please move into action? And I'm going to futz around here a little bit. I'm going to see if I can't get the YouTube people to be able to see my auxiliary screen. So
before you leave, Robert, could you give me a power to share my screen?
Oh, I see. You want everything. You're so demanding, Jim. There, you got it.
Thank you.
Thanks for pointing out the recording thing, too. All right, YouTubers, let me see if I can do this.
All right. The reason the first thing I wanted to bring up is that about 3 weeks ago, I decided to give up the apparent security and stability of a chair in front of my computer. So I've been working with this unstable ball ever since. And somehow I think that's prepared me for this weekend when everything seems unstable. The second thing that I would like to your body. Notice what's happening at the toes and the heels. Is the connection the same? Are you tilted forward? Are you tilted left or right? Are you tilted back? Where's that spot where the soles of the feet are just perfectly connected to the earth? You move the elbows out away from the body, away from the torso, and pay attention to the breathing that happens in the lungs, like a balloon, pressing against the rib cage in all directions, bringing attention to the spine in the back, the ribs on the side, sternum in the front. There's nothing stable. Everything's moving all the time. You take a breath in, release. Take a breath in, release. And with the elbows out a little bit from the torso, the ribs can really expand inside. There's so much going on with each breath, and none of it is determined by the mental factor of our consciousness. We don't have to will it into place. We don't have to remember it. It just happens. There's this intelligence in the body that fills up the lungs and then pauses, a tiny little pause before it empties. And we're watching that unfold without any particular intention. The intention is on holding the awareness steady, but it's not needed to move the rhythm of the breath. We're watching something that's emerging out of the intelligence of the body. And it's been doing that from the moment we were born. And along the way, we learn how to use this nervous system to do some fairly complicated things. Sink. At the same time we're sinking, we're raising our hands. We release the hands, and then we straighten the legs back to a lock, upright position. Just soft knees, deeper knees. Release the hands down and straighten the knees a little bit, but not totally. And we can place the attention on all these automatic processes that tie into each other. When we say, let's sink into the knees while we lift the hands, it takes lots of words. And let's drop the hands as we straighten the knees. And forget the word. All right. Bringing a little bit of gratitude, a little bit of awareness into the amazing complexity of a dynamic nervous system. Reaching across, focusing on the palm of our hand, letting the other palm face the earth. We take these different positions and then hold them. Bring them across, then let them go, and create the opposite. The opposite hand is above, the opposite hand is below. There's a cloud drifting across the sky. In our imagination, the sky is blue. Not when I'm looking out. When I look out the window, I don't see blue. Anyway, if I close my eyes, I see blue sky, cloud going by, but my nervous system is organizing hips, spine, shoulders, knees, feet. And no words, just feel. once more across. Releasing the hands, up to the side, come up, down the center. Again, I'm using words to direct you through this electronic world that we live in, but feeling all the different sensations of opening the arm, raising, releasing, letting go. We hold the attention on all the sensations, but we don't hold the position at all. We allow the position of our arms and hands to flow and flow and flow. Letting go, letting go, letting go into the flow. Too many words. And all this is working without any effort from our little mini-me will, our little ego. Come to stillness. There's an apparent stillness. There's aliveness, there's life in the hands, in the shoulders, in the ribs, in the lungs, in the knees, in the feet. On and on and on, wherever we look. All right. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for being here in my little world with little screens, little squares around each one of you. Thank you very much. See if Robert's back. So I just put the link to that amazing clarinet solo. It's only a minute and a half, but it was done for a NPR classical report of some sort, and it's beautiful music and beautiful. It's a pleading, a prayer, and you'll enjoy it.
There, I think I have, oops, where's this? Oh, I remember.
Your sound is a little muted.
Yeah. All right, how's that for sound now? Good? Okay. I hope that worked for the YouTube folks and Facebook. Thanks, Jim. I'm going to turn off this filter. I don't know whether you can hear it, but it's quite a lot of white noise in the room. I also want to say thank you to you and to everyone who participated in making this little house possible, because in these circumstances the tent would simply not be tenable. The air quality is hazardous, they say. So let's just sit for a minute or two. Hello, Frank, I just noticed you. Welcome from Germany, my dear friend. My brother. It's possible to sit in meditation and try to achieve something. I want to control this mind. I want to have loving thoughts. It's also possible, and in a way more difficult, to really just open to what is. What's here? What's the experience of this moment? And in this moment, I have really a lot of gratitude that we're here together, that you're here. And whenever I do that these days, I have tears in my eyes. And I look outside at the smoke and I'm scared. We humans are supposed to be scared when the sky is full of smoke. We're built that way. We're supposed to run, we're supposed to get away, we're supposed to protect our loved ones. That's how we survived. My circumstance is blessed in that I get to talk to quite a few people, and everyone I've spoken with is unsettled, ill at ease, more than usual. To stay even a little in touch with our political circumstances here in America, is to realize the madness of division, deception, the stirring of the pot of hatred. And that's very unsettling. So there's smoke, there's fires, there's refugees here within miles, a few miles. very unsettling. And then there's our lives. I know from my conversations with people, this is a hard time on relationships. A little factoid that I learned decades ago, I don't know if it's still accurate, but it was that when a child dies in a couple, there stands an 85% chance of divorce, separation. Because we handle stress and grief differently. And so rather than being able to come together and support one another, often it blows us apart. And unfortunately, there's very conscious intention in our country at this time to blow us apart. It's frightening. Where did I put my iPad? So once again from the Buddha, thus should you look upon this changing world. All component things are impermanent. All component things are subject to dissolution. See all of this world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. See all of this world as a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a flickering lamp, a phantom and a dream. Oops. Okay. So, whoop. If you pause and feel into what's happening right now, what do you find? One of the observations that I'm making, interestingly, we maxed out our license this morning. We had 100 people. It's 95 now. It was 72 last week, I think. It's been around that. For a while I was paying the extra $30 a month or $40 a month to have it over 100, and then dwindled, so I'd cut it back. But we're drawn to practice when the times are rough. When our usual coping strategies have diminished, or when they're not working, then if we're fortunate, we turn inward. And if we're lucky to find a path of the Dharma that's so effective, we start finding that there's some relief in the Dharma. So I want to speak a bit about the practice of happiness. There is a kind of happiness, and this is straight from the Buddha, really. There's a kind of happiness which has to do with the sense doors. It's a pleasureful happiness. So we can think about pleasant sights, pleasant sounds, nice music, pleasant smells, pleasant tastes, food. We devote a lot to food, to making food very pleasant. And I mean, one of the incredible aspects of privilege is that we actually say to each other, what kind of food would you like tonight, honey? Let's go out to dinner. Not so easy lately, but let's go out to dinner. Would you like Thai, Greek, Italian, French, Mexican? Which part of the palate would you like to please tonight? And then we have the whole realm of gourmet foods, and it never ceases to amaze me when I go through the supermarket, even just the supermarket. There are 1,000, maybe more, different kinds of wine. So and then there's other pleasures of the body. There's just the pleasure of movement. There's the pleasure of sexuality. There's the pleasure of sport. And these are all real. They really happen. And they do have a downside, however, in that we're dependent upon the body working and on all the conditions being correct to be able to get that particular pleasure. Funny, I just remembered some years ago, more than a decade and a half ago, taking the kids skiing, and the difficulty of getting ready and so on, and then getting there a little late and being in the back parking lot, and the teenagers being just really annoyed that they couldn't just get out of the car and go because they wanted that pleasure, and it was really not much fun as a family, in fact. So, pleasures of the body, pleasures of the five senses. Then there's the pleasure of the mind, the consumption of ideas and imaginations and so on. But there is a dilemma with those in that they are dependent upon so many conditions being accurate, being the same. Now I want to, here we are. I want to share my screen, and this is from Henapola Gunaratana's book. Whoa, is that big? That gonna work? Yeah, here it is. 8 mindful steps to happiness that we're using in my class. So I'll just share this. I'm going to read it, and you can read along with me. There it is, down here. Worldly happiness, however, goes beyond sense indulgence. It includes the joy of reading, watching a good movie, and other forms of mental stimulation or entertainment. It also includes the wholesome joys of this world, such as helping people, maintaining a stable family and raising children, and earning an honest living. The Buddha mentioned a few of these more satisfying forms of happiness. One is the happy, secure feeling you get from possessing wealth earned through honest hard work. You enjoy your wealth with a clear conscience and no fear of abuse or revenge. Better than this is the satisfaction of both enjoying the wealth that you earned honestly and also sharing it with others. Another especially... Whoop, I lost my place here. Is that right? No, I really lost it. Oh, wrong way. There we go. Most of us, even the most discerning, view these things as the essence of a good life. Why did the Buddha consider them part of the lowest form of happiness? Because they depend on conditions being right. Though less fleeting than the transient pleasures of sense indulgence and less potentially destructive to long-term happiness, they are unstable. The more we trust, seek them, and try to hang on to them, the more we suffer. Our efforts will create painful mental agitation and ultimately prove futile. Conditions inevitably will change. No matter what we do, our hearts will break. There are better, more stable sources of happiness. Does that make sense? You get that? So it isn't to say that the happiness, the sources of happiness that we have in the world are bad or wrong, but part of what's been happening with COVID to begin with, and now here with these incredible fires, is we're on a sort of enforced retreat. We aren't able to go after many of our familiar forms of happiness and distraction. And then we start suffering. I just remembered, I met a woman years ago who took incredible delight. She had a little cabin in the woods somewhere, maybe a big house, I don't know. But she loved being in the woods at her cabin, and it was the only place that she could feel safe and so on. And I pointed out to her that, you know, that's a wonderful thing that you have that, but you may not always have that. You may not be able to go walk in the woods because your legs may not work anymore and so on. And in fact, I knew her long enough that that happened and she couldn't go to her place anymore. And oh my, the suffering she went through. The suffering she went through as she had to wean herself from the fantasy, from the very understandable delusion that that was a safe place to take refuge. So, higher sources of happiness. I'm just going to read this. One of these is the happiness of renunciation, the spiritual happiness that comes from seeking something beyond worldly pleasures. The happiness that comes from prayer, religious rituals, and religious inspiration is part of this category. And here's a familiar one. Generosity is a powerful form of renunciation. Generously sharing what we have and many other acts of renunciation make us feel happy. There's a sense of pleasure and relief every time we let go. It stands to reason that if we can let go completely of grasping at anything in the world, then this great relinquishment will bring more happiness than occasional acts of renunciation. Generosity is so much fun. Finding ways to be generous with time, with energy, with money, with caring. It's just so gratifying. I had another instance the other night with I think it's kind of a strung out addict outside a 7-Eleven where he wasn't allowed in, and I did my usual routine of asking him what he would like that's in the store, what he needs, and he asked for a couple of things, and I went in and got him 3 or 4 times what he asked for, some hot food and high caffeine drinks he said he wanted. What a pleasure. I get back in my car with what I had gone in to purchase myself, and the pleasure in eating what I had purchased for myself was way less than the pleasure of seeing him open the bag and look up at me with just kind of wide eyes. What a delight. Here's a powerful one. Higher than the relinquishment of material things is the happiness of letting go of psychic irritants. This kind of happiness arises naturally when we work with the mind to quickly let go of anger, desire, attachment, jealousy, pride, confusion, and other mental irritations every time they occur. That's a bit of a list, isn't it? When we work with the mind to let go of anger, desire, attachment, jealousy, pride, confusion, and other mental irritations whenever they occur. Nipping them in the bud allows the mind to become unobstructed, joyful, bright, and clear. Yet there is no guarantee that the negativities will stay away and stop irritating the mind. That's an interesting list, isn't it? Anger, desire, attachment, jealousy, pride, confusion, other mental irritations. Exactly what we do when we're doing our meditation exercise is, oh, here's the hindrance of desire. Snip. Oh, look at this. Here's all this anger. Here's this confusion. Snip. I take refuge in being awake, in not being identified with these very normal human emotions. I just remembered a cartoon I saw 45 years ago. It was on the wall of the Buddhistische Haus Frönau in Berlin. I was there setting up a lecture tour for my teacher, and there was a drawing of a person's head. You couldn't tell gender, the head and the eyes were somehow looking up, and then there was a string, like a string going up, and then there was a balloon above, and in that was money, sex, music, unhappiness, happiness, etc. All the various experiences that we have. And then there were scissors, and underneath was the word vipassana. Vipassana meaning seeing things as they really are. So then there's another form of happiness here I want to speak of. Even better is the refined pleasure and happiness of the various states of deep concentration. No sorrow can arise in these states. Powerful and transcendent as these states of consciousness can be, however, they have one big drawback too. The meditator must emerge from them eventually. Being impermanent, even states of profound concentration must come to an end. Those are the jhanas in Buddhist practice. So we have the happiness of getting what we want, the happiness of pleasures of the body and the mind. We have the happiness of generosity. We have the happiness of becoming adept at snipping the arising of the suffering that arises from emotional states. And we have the happiness that can arise from concentration. Now they're all worthy of cultivating. I mean, it's been so many years that I've been practicing now. This mind, more often than not, will go to silence when I meditate. And it's really nice. It's so nice to not have the upset of the world running. But there's another kind of happiness, which is where the Buddha's teachings really point. And that's the happiness of waking up. The happiness of realizing, really realizing that everything really is impermanent. The happiness that is the realization of impermanence. The happiness that is the realization of dukkha, that any time there is a self involved, any time there is I, me, mine, there is built into it suffering. And then that beautiful, golden, brilliant truth taught by the Buddha and experienceable. The chant says experienceable by the wise. The truth of anatta, that this that we each take to be a solid self is actually a living process. It's part of the earth, it's part of nature. And that our most fundamental aspiration in meditation is to realize that, to become free of identification with all of this living process. Let me see if I want to do any more with this. Gunaratana, Venerable Gunaratana, goes on, this is in the introduction to his book, goes on and talks about the training, the gradual training. That in our meditation, we actually do experience relatively quickly, many people do, even with 20 minutes a day of meditation. Now that may sound like a lot. Even with 5 minutes a day of meditation, you can notice a difference in your life. With 20 minutes, if you do 20 minutes a day of meditation, 6 or 7 days a week, within a month, someone or other will say, I don't know how you're different, but you're really different now. Because we are. Because we learn how to adapt our physics to trigger the parasympathetic nervous system and actually get more relaxed. And we therefore have more capacity to deal with our emotions. And then we might start doing things like practicing generosity, or we might start cleaning up our how we speak. You might take I guess it's too late for Doyle's class. There's another thing he offers online that hasn't started yet. So, I want to come back to where I started. Everyone I talk to is experiencing deep undercurrents of unsatisfactoriness, of dukkha. And it's not because they're doing something wrong or bad. It's because that's the nature of being in a human body. It's the nature of having an untrained human mind. The fact that 150 square miles of forest have burned close to Portland is a visceral, an undeniable arrow. If that happened there, it could happen here. In fact, I can't show you right now, but outside, on the north side of this property, there's a 20-foot high, I forget the name of it, but it's a kind of evergreen. There are these trees that people plant them close together, and there's a wall of them between our property and the next one over. And a year ago, June, the fellow next door was using, rather stupidly, a propane weed burner, propane tank burner, to burn the leaves underneath these trees. And they caught fire. We weren't home. We came home to find a note on the door saying, I'm so sorry I burned down your hedge. And I thought, that's a weird thing. And I went and looked, and 8 or 9 of these mature trees had been, they were charred. And it turned out that he had fought the fire with his garden hose, and a neighbor who was a former firefighter came and also worked with him, and then the fire department came and put them out. Well, it got within 3 feet of the branches of a Douglas fir tree. And the Douglas fir tree over there touches, this tree beside me touches 10 big Doug fir trees along, plus a bunch of maples. If it had been August, the whole place would have burned. And it would have continued on, probably down the street. It would, because it would have flashed, it would just... So it could be here. In December I had a brain surgery because of an aneurysm, because of that, it was discovered because of a stroke. We all know that catastrophe is a millimeter away. And there's something about this time of COVID and now these fires that I think is rattling in us, that it's at the subjective level, it's like, I'm not safe. Well, no, we're not. We're not. The only promise that nature makes to us is impermanence. So whatever shall we do? I've really devoted my life to trying to working on it in myself, to take care of this, to develop this capacity of being really okay in the world as best as possible, because of concentration, but also because of insight into the nature of things. That On the complete other hand, we're perfectly safe. There's nothing that can go wrong. It is all going to go away. Remember Ram Dass, he had a spirit friend called Emmanuel. He wrote a book or two about Emmanuel's teachings. And Emmanuel sent a message. He said, tell this to everybody. Stop worrying about death. It's perfectly safe. It's a strange perspective, isn't it? So, my intention in talking about this and in this way is to inspire devotion to the practice and some reduction in our anxiety. What's the time? I think I want to do one more thing. So, get my guitar. So a classic practice for anxiety goes like this, and I don't know, my left hand is asleep. Let's see, maybe I can do it with the guitar, maybe not. Yeah. So just sit back and let this flow through you. I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. Is this true? I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken, to fall ill. I have not gone beyond falling ill. Is this true? Is this really true? I am of the nature to die. I have not gone beyond dying. Is this really true? Will I really die? All that is mine, beloved and pleasing. Everything that I hold precious, every one I love and hold dear, will become separated from me. Can this be true? Is this true? Is it really true? I am the owner of my karma, my intentional actions, heir to my karma, born of my karma, abide supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, of this I shall be the heir. Is this true? Is it really true? Thus should you frequently recollect, said the Buddha. I am of the nature to age. I've not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to sicken, to fall ill. Right? If I get COVID and die, it would be a very normal thing. 197,000 people have died. died from it in the States so far. And of course 130,000 people die on the planet every day. I am of the nature to die, I have not gone beyond dying. All that is mine, beloved and pleasing, will become separated from me. It's not just the Syrian refugees that leave everything behind. It's every one of us. Our friend Paige really got to see that in the last few days. She was with her father, and then he was gone, and then there was a corpse. Happens to everyone. And then karma. Is it true that my actions have results, and therefore that I might be conscious of taking care of them? It's a worthy one to explore. I find these 5 daily recollections incredibly comforting. They're not happy-making, but they're grounded-making. They're heart-opening. They make the world more real. Oh, Andra just wrote, "My father is dying and I appreciate these reminders." Thank you, Andra. So, I think I want to stop. I feel very quiet inside right now. And ask you if you have any comment, question, sharing that you'd like to share with our community. If you do have that or want to do that, please just press unmute and you will have the forefront. You'll have the...
I have a little something, Robert.
I see you, Tim. Yes.
Good morning. A friend of mine just taught me a new word and a concept, and it comes from the Lakota people. And the word is Cheya, C-H-E-Y-A, and it means prayer while crying. Crying while praying.
Whoa.
And this has been a very, very moving, a very appropriate, really rang for me, and I've been practicing it recently.
Thanks, Tim.
Hey Robert, this is Robert.
Nice name.
Yeah, I think so too. So I kind of have a question about I know you first started meditation in India, I think back in the 70s, right? And so I guess if you were just to kind of compare what your experience in life was as far as happiness, from day one when you first started meditating to now, like how would you rate the difference in?
Okay. Sorry, I interrupted you with my laughter.
No, that's it. I just
Okay.
talked about happiness, so I I'd love to hear your progression of happiness through this journey.
It's a fair question. When I did my first meditation retreat, I had been stoned every day for about 3 months. My girlfriend told me in Chandigarh, India, that she was not going to marry me and live happily ever after when we came home, but wanted to split up. And so there I was in India, coming across the border in Afghanistan into Pakistan. As we pulled away in the bus, a border guard handed me a chunk of hash about this big, pollen. And so I was desperate. I completely went into codependent collapse and just stayed stoned all the time, which says something about how much pain I was in and my coping strategy. I also hadn't done any therapy at that point, and I had migraine headaches and bad allergies. And it's been a long haul. It's been a long haul. I've done long retreats that have been filled with everything from bliss and joy and expanded, huge states of concentration, to the pits of anguish and despair. And the difference, the real difference, I think, is that I'm now capable of facing what comes my way with a great deal less suffering. It doesn't mean I don't have a neurotic mind and the same old abandonment issues pop up and so on, but I know that if I can have an hour or two to just settle, I can almost always get my head out of the water. And I think this is true. I'm leaving less and less wreckage behind me in relationships, and I'm doing less harm in my communication because I'm more capable of seeing what's coming up, and also I have a pretty unshakable faith in the Dharma. It's like those dolls, they put sand in the bottom, you blow it up and then you knock it over. Kids are in 2 or 3 years old, love them. You knock it over and it goes boom, boom, it comes up. My self-writing process is much more effective. And I guess one other thing I would say is I had a lot of time in the hospital last year with my brain surgery, two trips into my skull. And my experience was that it was a huge love fest. I had such respect for and gratitude for the people who were taking care of me, and there wasn't much poor me, ain't it awful. It was, this is what is, and I can face this. So how's that for a response?
Very good, thank you.
Hi, Robert. And everyone. This is Tally.
Hello, Tally. Where'd you go? I can't find you.
I don't know.
There you
I
are.
don't know. I'm here.
Hi, Tally.
Hi. Thank you for a great session today. I have read that book. I pronounce his name Gunaratana, but I don't know what the right way is. Probably the way you're saying.
I think you got it right.
Okay.
Good enough.
Well, whatever. I have read that book. I just want to tell everybody this because that book, that introduction, that it's just the introduction portion of that book, is so profound. It's, to me, it really changed my view of the world and myself when a few years ago, and I've read it probably 3 or 4 times over. I keep it by my bedside and I just pick it up every night, really, and I read a page, and it just brings me back to all of these concepts. So I just really appreciate you pulling from it today. But I also wanted to just say one word has really just kept coming up all over the last 2 hours, and even after Robert Riley just shared. Oh, the book, it's called The Eightfold Path to Happiness, I think.
8 Mindful Steps to Happiness.
Yeah, I have it here. Let me pull it up so I can show you. This is the cover. 8 Mindful Steps to Happiness, Walking the Buddhist Path. I also have your book on my website, Robert, and I read that as well, and I'm loving it, so thank you for that. But one word that came up over and over again for me today was trust. And it's just been coming up in my life for the last 5 months, which is like, I feel like trust in the Dharma and has been something that I have been working, that I believe and I have like subscribed to over the last few years. But what I'm exploring right now is trust in me, in the wise self. I had the opportunity recently to access my wise self through a kind of therapy that is up and coming these days, using psychedelics. And I realize that so much of, and you just talked about it, Robert, about faith, that faith has been what has helped you to, keep going deeper and continuing to reduce your own suffering and apply the Eightfold Path. If I misquoted you or whatever, just let me know. But so, I think what I'm exploring and starting to get a little bit of a foothold with is, because you're right, like the forest, my house, my family, my income, whatever, those are all not reliable things. My health, whatever. But what is reliable, as long as I'm on this earth, is access to like those inner resources and the breath and the Dharma. And I think I'm still kind of trying to see that that's something I can trust. I'm testing the waters with that a bit each day, and I guess I just want to ask or say, like, I think that might be the holy grail here for me personally. The idea that if I do these good, compassionate, heart-opening things, that I will be okay, whatever comes, because I'll have that. So there is some comfort that I'm getting from that these days, but it's definitely still touch and go. So here I am.
We develop that faith, true faith, through experience. It's not a I believe on this kind of thing. It's not blind faith. It's I do this little experiment with people. What could I use? I use this. If I let go of this, what will happen? Well, that happens. If I let go of it, what will happen? If I let go of it, I can do this as long as I'm close to the earth and something has mass. I have great faith in gravity. And if times are really tough and I turn to the Dharma and I discover, oh, there's mindfulness here. Oh, I can bear this pain more effectively. And so it's like we experiment, and then over time it becomes unshakable. And then we sometimes have deep intuitive understandings of things, and then it becomes totally unshakable. It's like, oh, that's the truth. And it grows over time. So I admire you with your diligence in carrying out the experiment. You may have heard, Talia, years ago I did a 10-day retreat with Achan Sumedho, one of my great heroes, and I was cleaning the kitchen. My yogi job was late at night, and I was cleaning the kitchen, and he came in to get his morning coffee ready, and I asked him, what would you say are the fruits of your all these decades of practice as a monk? And he paused for a few seconds, and then he said, you know, Robert, I think I'm going to be able to handle anything that comes in this life. That was a very interesting answer. So we have time for another person or two, maybe. I think we're at noon, but let's stretch it a bit. Margaret, did you wish to speak?
Yes, please.
I saw your fingers wiggling. Hi.
Hi. Thank you. You said something earlier about the process of self, and I really liked that. It rang, it echoed in my body. It's my understanding that the Buddha, it took him 6 years to cultivate the condition that he ultimately found himself in. And so often we want things that are, there's that desire for to have things at our fingertips. But there's this beautiful, incredible opportunity to cultivate an understanding of the truth, and that is very possible. It's a beautiful thing. We spoke of this. It's woven into what the people who have spoken today mentioned. That it's a process, and it's having faith in the process. And I feel incredibly blessed to have had some very, very deep, strong, clear experiences with the process of meditation. And as I say, I feel blessed in many ways. And I think really that's all I'd like to say right now. I feel blessed being among all of these beautiful people today, and thank you.
Thanks, Margaret. Anybody else? Hey, Frank, would you say something from your lovely home in Germany for us, from your big heart?
Thank you for inviting me to speak, my dear friend. Hello, Sangha in Portland. Yeah, I've been longing to join your Sunday meeting today because with the disturbing news on our television about the fires on the West Coast and Portland and also. So I'm really happy to see you all there in good shape, and what you spoke of today I found really helpful. And what a rich teaching this Buddha left for us. I mean, you started with all the ways of happiness, and I think this is very helpful. It's also nice that there are so many, what can I say, acknowledgements of different ways of living a good and happy life. And this is not the end of it. There's so much more which you, of course, also shared today. So I think that was really a very rich teaching you gave to us today. And thank you very much. And my compassion to the Portlanders right now in these difficult days. I heard that the air pollution is very bad and that you are suffering, and so I hope you will have fresh winds and lots of rain soon. Thank you.
Any of you that don't know, Frank and I are siblings with Ruth Dennison as our mother. Siblings in the Dharma. There is a plan for Frank to come visit again. I think it's January. We'll see if that's possible. Hope so. Well, thanks for sharing, those of you that did. And thanks for coming and being part of this community. It's, I hope you share my experience of the strengthening that comes from being together like this. I've decided, I've changed my plans about, we canceled our plans of going away. So I am in fact going to be teaching the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings of this coming week. And we're going to reschedule, and I'll ask my colleagues to fill in at that time. So I will be here, hopefully. The plan is, I'll be here tomorrow morning at 7, same link. And, last announcement. I'm teaching a weekend online retreat on October the 3rd and 4th. And it isn't on the website, it's on it's on my website, robertbeatty.com, in the blog. You can find the address, or you could just go to hollyhock.ca. It's where I would have been if not for COVID. I would have been there now teaching a 5-day retreat, I think, or I would be there anyway. It's on the 3rd and 4th of October, and I think there may still be some spaces available. And it'll all be done from home. And I'll be here, and so if you'd like to participate, please go sign up. So shall we go out on a song? Here we go, ready? I'm going to unmute everybody, this is always fun. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Goodbye, my dear friends. Have a lovely day.
Bye. Thank you.
Robert.
Jennifer and I are canning tomatoes today. Goodbye.
Happy canning.
So funny to see how more and more.
Bye for now. Hi, Franz. It's Candle behind the Kuan Yin. Nice to see you.
Ah, right. Nice to see the Kuan Yin before you.
That's right. Always leading the way. Thank you, Robert. It was a fantastic Dharma today.
Thank you for being here, and my friend, Kendall.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I agree. Happy canning. I'm drying plums.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, tons and tons of them.
Hey, Frank, I'm gonna send you a link. Let's take a few moments to chat, okay?
Okay.
All right. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Oh. Thank you, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube.